and welcome back to the desk ahead of our second series of the day and our match of the week. KC enter playoffs and they will face off against G2. We see Kai'Sa, of course, here cheering for the team and welcoming them, but we will get to this matchup a bit later because first things first, Vladi come back in the first series of the day and Razor got the player of the series here. When he pops off, he really pops off, but I don't know, it felt like it took a bit of time for Ivan to come back.
Yeah, definitely. Even in this series, he didn't look that impressive. In game 1, game 2 also had a slow start, but eventually when he managed to escape the Sejuani duty and was locked on the carry, finally, he started looking really, really solid.
Breaking the look streak here for Fnatic and grabbing the victory. But on the other side of the second matchup that we have today, as I said, KC entering their very first playoffs for the first time in the history of the organization. And what a challenge they have ahead of them, Sola, with the likes of G2 Esports. But when you think about it, G2 coming back from MSI, not the best team we had. They had to claw back the way there.
Definitely a slow start. I think a lot of it has to do just with individual mistakes, especially Caps is, as we know him, always a bit hit or miss. Lately he's been putting up some good games, so let's see if the 2-week break has done them any good, but I think individual performance definitely needs to be on point today for G2 if they want to succeed.
It's always the story of G2 ramping up in from the regular season till playoffs. I feel Broxah. What has changed for them mostly, and what were the crucial mistakes that we saw from them in the first 3 weeks of summer?
Well, I think ultimately, often at the start of a split, like you mentioned, G2, they are very disjointed. It takes them a little bit of time to come online as a team, but not only that, their understanding of matchups and when to take risks and whatnot isn't exactly on point. And now that they're finally back on track, they're starting to be really impressive in the 2v2 in bot lane and often get kills 2v2. Broken Blade and Yike have fantastic synergy. Caps is just a stable rock in the mid lane, and everything really is coming together. And it's just the classic G2, right? Having a slow start, but then the longer they have to practice, the scarier they start looking.
Yeah, and I know that we often talked about G2's early game, G2 mid game Solar usually being the weak point for them. The moment they have fun in game, let's say, they really refine that mid game and that early game. And while looking at playoffs today, usually this is the moment where G2 ramps up. Something to be expected maybe here today.
Yeah, for sure. I also think G2 always has a really unique approach to the meta. If we, for example, look at the bot lane, they are one of the only duos that still play a lot of the lane bullies, like the Ashe, the Caitlyn. No more Varus after the nerfs on the current patch, but they always try to play the game a bit differently and just to their style, and at the start of the split it hasn't really panned out, but I think now they found the way how to move around the meta. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see if they just stick to what worked in the last 2 weeks or if they made some improvements on their draft after this break, because I feel like KC also has stepped it up a lot, and it's not going to be easy for Hansama to pull through with a champ like Caitlyn, who really has a big timer if he doesn't get a big lead in lane.
Yeah, and for me there's also the question of fatigue, because they're just coming back from a tournament as well, and when you think about winning winter, winning spring, going to MSI, going to EWC, coming back for a playoff, I know that the year is long, Broxah, but I'm always wondering how teams are gonna manage these tournaments that come extra, or is it actually gonna propulse them in playoffs and help them get that momentum?
I think one thing that makes G2 special, that's been the case ever since I played against them in my days, is the fact that they have such a relaxed and nice atmosphere. I saw them backstage just an hour ago, and they were laughing and you know, just chilling and having a good time. And I think, you know, as long as you can always feel like you're with a bunch of friends and you're in it together, it doesn't really matter what challenges are in front of you, you're going to be, you know, able to handle all of it. Yeah,
and the challenge is on the other side of the rift, if I may say. As we said, KC entering their very first LEC playoffs. And GB, tell us how they made it there and what we can expect from them.
Yeah, thank you, Laure. KC, the most polarizing team in the league. Either you're a fan or you're a hater. And for a majority of their time in the LEC, the haters have been eating good. Winter was a complete failure, and spring looked very much the same. I mean, if you've browsed Reddit, I'm pretty sure you've seen this before. But that's the past, and now in summer, you're here. You've already done something you've never done before. You've made it to playoffs, but you need to do so much more to make it to the season finals. So there's 2 paths ahead of you, KC. There's the path for the hate watchers, the doubters, maybe even the realist, where you'll get completely dumpstered by G2, you get thrown down in the lower bracket, and no matter who you end up facing, it's just not enough. No season finals, and no LEC until next year. All of your struggles for nothing. 4-9, no different than the 2-7. But there's another path. There's the path for the faithful, where once again you have to do something you've never done before. You have to beat G2. And beating G2 is not going to be easy. But somehow you're going to do it. Because failing is no longer an option for you. Because you failed all of winter and spring, but still you kept pushing forward every single time. So now you push of the limits of what any sane person thought possible. And the insanity continues because you beat whoever is waiting for you in the next match. You make it to the top 3. Kai'Sa makes it to the season finals. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, all right? Because you are here. As there's only one way to find out which path Kai'Sa will be walking. So let's see if this next step will help them continue on their long journey or be the last misstep they are allowed this year.
Karmine Corp have not had a good year. Loss after loss after loss after loss.
For the second split in the row, Kai'Sa will finish 2-7.
And now they finally made it one step further, only to see their next challenge is the hardest that they've ever faced. For Kai'Sa, the only path to season finals is top 3, and right now, that path is blocked by G2. And as Upset and Targamas finally find their footing, Sama and Mikyx stand ready to knock them back to the bottom of the standings. The whole league is racing to beat the reigning champions, and Kai'Sa will be the first to face them. Can Kai'Sa rise to the challenge and begin their march towards the top of the table? Or will they be yet another stepping stone on G2's year of domestic dominance? Watch G2 vs Kai'Sa this Saturday.
And it is this Saturday. In fact, it's right now as we're here for G2 versus Kai'Sa. Ready for what is probably the most anticipated series of the weekend, obviously for Karmine Corp. It is a long road ahead of them. They have to make top 3 in summer if they're going to make it to the season finals. For G2, they've been here, they've done this, they've seen it all before.
It's going to be a story of the underdog for Kai'Sa. G2, even with their challenging splits, start to the split, you know, where they were seen floundering, people questioned the level that they were bringing to the league. I feel like that they have rapidly been elevating themselves domestically and are poised to secure another title in the new format 3 in a row. At least that's their goal, that's their ambition. And today's going to be the first indicator. Let's see what Kai'Sa have prepared for us in the 2 weeks that they've had ready for this best of 3.
I still do feel like G2's overall, the story of how much are they floundering might be a bit over-exaggerated, Vedi, because I feel like every time they come into playoffs, it feels like a slightly different team, right? It feels like they've got more prepared. Overall, they kind of throw more curveballs in these best of 3s, and that's been the trend whenever they've hit playoffs so far this year. Again, whether or not it's going to be the same case here in summer, because there's been a few more ups and downs this split, yet to be seen.
But speaking of floundering, and before we get on into the draft, I have a fun fact for you guys. Did you know a new species of crab was discovered this week?
Oh, no.
It's called the Gothus Timo.
Oh,
it was discovered in the South China Sea, and it was named after Timo because of its ability to camouflage.
Wow.
There's your fun fact.
I didn't
Anyone
know the
asked you to
camouflage
name a
bit.
crab?
That is a great fun
Gothus
fact,
Timo, there
Medic.
we are.
I'm impressed that it's related to League of Legends as well. That's rare for you. Zeri going to be banned away by G2, targeting Upset off the bat. I mean, Upset is one of the big carries that we've seen step up for Karmine Corp, especially in the later weeks. And right now, his pool is being limited. Corki and Rumble going to be taken away from the side of G2. Will the Tristana make its way through the draft? Will it be given to Caps is going to be the big question.
Yeah, Karmine Corp, final ban now. We've just got to kind of wait and see. I feel like if you're Karmine Corp, you might just want to ban them both, I fear. Yeah. Go towards something like the Sejuani, still up, of course. You see it first picked a lot. For G2. They go towards the Azir, so they're willing to let G2 take up this Tristana and then look to trade out something like that Sejuani and another jungler themselves.
Yeah, Caps has only played with Tristana once in summer, did win on it. In 2/3 of G2's games, though, it was banned against it. So wouldn't be too surprised if it is the first pick here. Obviously, the Sejuani still a possibility, but you've got Maokai as well if you are looking for that utility tank jungler. So you pick the Trist, and then Karmine Corp get their pick of one of those two junglers.
I guess there is also that cool brand champion that Razork just played for the first time that we've never seen before in jungle. Oh, okay.
Yone, along with the Sejuani. I am very curious. I mean, we've seen Vladi bring out the Yone mid before, and I wonder if that was their plan as an answer to the Tristana. Does struggle in terms of the early push, but later on is a great answer in the side lane. Being given that Sejuani 2 means that Karmine Corp have already set themselves up nicely in terms of their mid-jungle duo, but G2, a very swift response. Leona, the most popular support in the world right now, paired up alongside the Renekton, a strong top side. Karmine, they need to, well, they're going to respond in kind with the Kai'Sa locked in for upset, one of his best performing. He did get that quadra kill heading into the Riot break week, and he had some strong performances on it.
Yeah, a lot of dive for Karmine Corp so far, right, overall. Curious about what they're going to round it out with. They've got loads of options, seeing the Leona, they can go towards the Alistar. Of course, these are things that G2 are going to be thinking about banning too. So we'll see how hard G2 want to go towards that, or protection bans for the Renekton, though Renekton tends to not need them.
Of course, the Yone can be flexed into the top lane. We haven't seen Canna on it
To Renekton, I don't think it will be.
I don't think it will be either, but it's always a possibility. Canna has actually brought out 9 different champions in the 9 different games they have played so far, and it would be his 10th. So if he wants to continue that unique champion spree, it's a possibility. There's the Rakan band away. Alistair as well, as you mentioned, Jamada, a possibility here for G2. Ashe and Draven removed by Karmine Corp, trying to pinch Hans Sommer's pool that little bit more.
You know, this could be an MF angle for G2. I think back to Hans Sommer's MF from, what, Worlds 21? 2021, I think it was. My point is that right now they want a strong AD carry, something that has presence in lane, that can have impact, and also can bully the Kai'Sa out. Both the Draven and the Ashe are taken away. Is the Rell likely going to be the lock-in here for Targamas? Some strong performances towards the end of the regular season. I'm just trying to think of other strong AD carries that they could consider as well.
I feel like MF is the perfect one, though, because not only does it give you strong laning, but in the mid-game, MF tends to win out on a lot of prio, and when you've got Renekton and Tristana on side lanes, you want first move, and if you can stop, you know, the Kai'Sa flying in from having first move through the mid lane once you've actually hit that sort of 40-minute mark, that's a really big plus. So I feel like Hans, it's a really strong option if he wants it.
He might just do Varus. If he's feeling really spicy, Samira, I think, can also be fine here. So that was the one that I considered it, but because of the nerfs, I thought, yeah, probably not.
Yeah. I think G2 have agreed with you. Yeah. Going to put the Varus down towards that bottom side, and Brand in the jungle for them as well.
I feel like I know who G2's been scrimming. We had a very strong performance from Razork earlier in the day on the Brand. We'll see if Yike can look to copy that performance. Now, Karmine Corp, they've got to round out their draft. Will the Yone be going towards the top lane, or will we be getting something unique from Canna once more? You mentioned it earlier, 9 unique champions for the top liner of Karmine Corp.
Mundo would be a 10th. Gragas is not, though. He has played that once before, so Canna going back to something we've seen him on at least one time this year. Let's have a look at these compositions in totality, though. G2, a lot of single target lockdown and a lot of damage. On the other side, Karmine Corp maybe want to play with a little bit more range if they can.
Well, I think that G2 have a very traditional front-to-back. They have side lane options with both the Renekton and the Tristana. I think range is something they can really take advantage of. When you contrast Tristana, Brand, Varus to Yone and Kai'Sa, Karmine are leveraging much more of the dive.
True.
They want to find those strong initiations. I think one of the unique advantages they have in the late game is that Yone is a very difficult champion to deal with in a side lane, but Karmine Corp have a huge amount of dive, which can be difficult to execute, but especially if you get a pick, it's very quickly can turn into a massive snowball.
Yeah, I think that's the key word, the snowball of Karmine Corp, whether or not they can get the first pick off in some of these fights. I'm looking towards Targamas, honestly, to try and find some really strong angles to allow the follow-up from the Yone, allow the follow-up from the Sejuani, to ensure that G2 never really have a foot in some of these team fights. If they get going on that front to back as well, I feel like they're really going to struggle, Karmine Corp.
Now, we love hearing from the fans, so heading into this game, in Twitch chat, you can vote for G2 or KC on who you think is going to win. We're going to be bringing up the vote as we get into game, but spam in the Twitch chat who you think is going to win, G2 or KC.
Only 2 letters per team as well.
Yeah, it's only
Makes
2
it
letters.
really easy for
And
you
the
to
reason
spam.
why we're doing this test is because while we think that, of course, G2 is the expected favorite,
Yes.
we know that KC has a strong fan base, and we really want to hear from that fan base as well. We want to see how strong the support is, or whether it is a one-sided G2 affair. We are running into a brief pause, and I say brief with optimism, because I have no idea what the cause is.
Do you want to know some other animals that were named after video game characters?
Do you have other
I've
animals?
got 2 others.
He has a list.
There's the Anaphis Charizard, which is a tiny wasp with fiery red markings, named after Digimon, obviously. And there's the Crash Bandicoot Wait a Bit. This is actual name. Okay, it's Crash Bandicoot Wait a Bit, which is a great name, which was an extinct type of Bandicoot.
Oh.
And that's named after the Yu-Gi-Oh card, right?
It's Jack and Dexter, I'm pretty sure. Yep, there you are. Those are my facts. And now you guys talk about League of Legends. I'm going to take a seat for a moment.
Well, Medic loves giving us random tangents, if you haven't learned yet.
He's done it to me when it's just me and him, and I've learned it doesn't change when there's an extra person in the middle.
No, it doesn't. Overall, I do prefer G2's comp. I think KC have gotten a lot of comfort with their draft. We're seeing a lot of champions like Vladi was well known for his Yone originally. And by pairing it up with the Sejuani, it was clearly a game plan coming in that they knew that G2 would prioritize this Tristana, and they said, you know what, we think that this combo is a good enough answer. I think that their team fighting can also be very strong. I think that while the execution may vary, both are quite happy to just kind of group up and go for those 5v5s. It does make me interested, though, when it comes to these early objectives, because the reality is, I think Caps should get push in the early laning phase. Varus, Leona should have push in the early laning phase. Renekton should have push in the early laning phase. So there's a lot of priority that G2 gets to play with as well.
Yeah, that's what I think the biggest worry for KC is how they actually handle the fact that they realistically shouldn't have prio just about anywhere on the map. Try and overload numbers earlier on. If you get like a good reset on Targamas, somehow send them up towards the top side or towards the mid lane. It's got to be something really kooky to catch G2 off guard.
They don't even have priority in the fan vote at the moment. 80-20 in favour of G2 is what I've been informed. Now, as an England supporter, I'm used to being on the receiving end of, you know, other fans not wanting you to win, but I'm sure KC can pull out better numbers than that in the chat
KC
before we get into the game.
if it makes you feel any better, I expected a number of 2-0s this week, and we did not get that.
We got the SK one.
We did.
SK one was 2-0.
Yes. And they will be going up against Fnatic tomorrow as a result of today. The winner of this series will be playing against BDS tomorrow, which was a super entertaining series yesterday. If you didn't check that one out, would highly recommend
One word for it.
Just so, in case any of you are wondering, the game delay is Vladi's monitor has a couple of issues. You can see Closer trying to help fix it right now. Got our tech support on site. The fan vote has swayed by an entire percentage point.
I see.
Towards KC.
Yeah, you guys can keep spamming in the chat. This will keep passively updating until we remove it.
And it's gone. Back to 820.
If anything, it's a really nice ratio. What they're saying is that there's a 1 in 5 chance of KC winning. Yeah, that is how that works, Medic.
You can't fault it.
Yeah.
True.
I can see the steam. I can see the steam coming off Medic's head. Just trying to figure out.
If Connor Lee was still working stats, then she'd have your head on a spike. For the moment, though, we are obviously just waiting to get on into the game. As a reminder for stakes, G2 have already qualified for our season finals. Obviously, winning Summer, I believe, gets you a Worlds spot as 3rd seed at minimum.
Yeah.
So they still want to win Summer, even though they've already won Spring and Winter. Karmine Corp have to get top 3 in Summer. Not in the season finals. They have to get top 3 in Summer to even make it to the season finals.
Yeah. Because they don't have any championship points. So.
And they can still do that even if they lose today. They just have to make a lower bracket run. Today does not eliminate them from contention for those top 3 spots. Let's get on to the Rift. See if we can spot any Gothas Teemos hanging out in the river.
We shall see. Not sure anything too particular is going to occur, level 1. Feel like for both these teams, especially G2 with the brand, they want to get him on Yike that is as standard a full clear as they can keep him on. Feel like he can always take over a jungle matchup, brand, just into about any tank really, as long as he gets that first clear nice and safe.
Really sweeper though from Mikyx. I wonder if they're considering some type of delayed invade. You can see him hovering right now in the bot mid tri-brush. I was trying to think of a better way to word it, but
It's not a tri-brush, really, is it?
Sorry, it's not even a tri-brush,
yeah.
it's the brush. That's that sweeper we were talking about, clearing out some of this vision. Now, we talked about prio. This to me suggests that G2 is thinking about an invade. They're dropping a ward on the red buff, and they're trying to gain information as to where Closer is starting. The fact that Mikyx and Hans have push and bot means that they should be able to set up for Yike to invade on the bot side blue, and maybe they could even split the map. They can leave the Renekton isolated with the Gragas, knowing that there's no real kill threat there. Even with a Sejuani gank, there's probably a high probability of the Renekton being able to survive. Mikyx, I think, even catching that ward there. So, really nice vision setup in the early game. No real response coming out from KC, and we may see... Well, we might see KC falter in the early game simply due to the sheer amount of lane pressure that G2 have across the map.
Just about not buckling for Karmine Corp, because we know the comp will come together eventually. It's just going to take maybe 20-25 minutes, 2 items. And then maybe they can really go toe-to-toe, but before then it's about creativity and actually trying to find windows where G2 are maybe just a little bit lackadaisical on some rotations.
Yeah, I mean, keep your eyes on the minimap right now. It's, in fact, I can even enlarge it to make it even easier. You can see, like, push, push. Right now, bot lane is kind of conceding pressure for the time being. They're actually willing to allow the push to come through. But this is the type of pressure that we were talking about, and it's something you always have to be very cautious of, especially at the pro level, because junglers can really take advantage of that.
And there was always the risk. I think part of the reason that G2 accepted the push in the bot lane is Yike was on that side of the map, and they knew the enemy jungler was top side. So if Yike had just cleared his bot side, gone through tri-bush, with the Karmine Corp bot lane pushing in, they're pretty much dead, or at least burning summoners to escape that game.
Well, it also just suggests that Yike's plan wasn't to invade, right? Yeah. We discussed the possibility of him looking for a blue side invade, but the fact that they conceded their pressure is also, as you highlighted, they want to be on. They know they're on the weak side of the map. So instead, they'll concede the first few waves. He'll play towards what feels like his stronger side, and as mid continues to push, you'll see Caps now dropping that ward in the bot river, and they're trying to gain that information and leverage their prior ward.
This could also end up being a top dive on Canna. I mean, he's kind of chunked out 70% HP, but between Renekton and Brand, both level 4, I think they can murder him in a single rotation between the two of them. There's pings up there as well, so Yike's on his way.
He's looking for it.
Big wave.
It's a very big wave. Even if you can just force him away from it, you can deny so much of that experience. Uses the Drunken Rage. Broken Blade looking for that Ruthless Predator. Gets the enhanced stun into the flash stun from Yike. Canna is burning, and Broken Blade's on his way to pick up the kill. Flashes forward, 2 flashes for the kill, but G2 denies so much under this tower.
Real nice by G2. They did have to both blow flash, but at the end of the day, Canna misses so much for that. It's going to TP back, but still, damage done. And that's a good early lead picked up for Broken Blade on the Renekton in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, the plan was clear from G2, right? Mid, top, continue to push. Yike in a good position, the wave stacked. Right now, though, KC is trying to respond.
Gragas there. Right position at the right time. Caps now spotting Closer coming around the corner. Vladi has to dash back. Closer able to use the Arctic Assault to escape as well.
A little bit of pressure. You can see where KC want to try and alleviate some pain. This mid lane matchup is probably going to look like this for a little while until maybe 2, maybe even 3 resets for Vladi, where he gets a little bit more attack speed, and that's where some of the wave clear for himself kind of comes online.
I mean, right now he's only, I say only, he's a wave down, which is not the end of the world to be in. The bot wave's also in a pretty comfortable spot for G2. Ultimately, KC just kind of has to find opportunities. When you are in a situation where you've got 3 losing lanes, effectively, there are still windows where you can either counter gank to potentially punish. For example, because they knew that Canna was on the bot side of the map, that top side dive was safe. There's a world where maybe he could have been in a position to counter dive, and then there's an opportunity there, right? So we've seen Closer make these great plays before and track the enemy jungler well. He's going to need to do that to make sure that G2 don't snowball this early game out of control.
And you can see Karmine Corp trying to do that. A ward on these Razor Beaks as Yike is going to move across towards his top side. Closer is spotted as well, and Caps obviously very aware that Karmine Corp jungler is in the area. Starting to hover down towards that bottom side, trying to heal up as well. Maybe won't be able to get the plate quite yet, but should topple on a couple more waves of push.
Grubs are now spawning in 30 seconds. We've seen many of our top teams in Europe prioritize that, way ahead of the Dragons. And wouldn't be surprised to see G2 do the same thing. You see Yike on that top side of the map. He has push in top, push in mid as well.
And he is Brand. He's going to do it in like 15 seconds.
He's just waiting for the spawn now. Nice timing for him. Bot has to continue to play safe. We're not actually going to see a swap from Hansama and Mikyx. I think that's also fine. They probably realize that just because of the sheer amount of pressure they have from their two solo laners, that they don't need to overcommit their resources, and the objective being started. But thanks to the ward, Closer is going to have that awareness, and he should be able to cross map. His bot lane also has the push, so it should be an easy dragon to secure.
1 for 1 on the objectives. I guess 3, I guess. But pretty standard for G2. Yike's level 6 now as well, and I'd like to see where he wants to try and make some impact with that Pyroclasm, because you can sometimes just walk into a lane, drop your whole combo. That's enough impact.
I wonder if you'll head down towards that bottom side at the moment. Broken Blade winning out top because of the earlier gank. It's about a 10 CS lead and about 600 gold ahead. Caps is constantly getting pushed in the mid lane, which is also why you kind of want to prioritize Grubs as G2, because if you get a bit of free time on a tower with a Tristana, with a Renekton, they are just going to melt through them, even with, you know, Varus later on in the game. But right now, G2's bot lane, the only one that's really having to concede pressure on the map.
100%. But I would say that overall, G2 are playing well to their game plan, and KC are kind of just doing what they can. It's just the unfortunate reality of their situation. The Gragas, of course, is going to struggle. This wave is in a very awkward spot, and he's also very cautious about where the brand is on the map. He can be fairly confident that because the grubs were just taken, Yike will likely reset to his bot side. But of course, without that concrete information, you never know if a brand might be shadowing or looking for some type of play.
Yeah, and Closer's still down on the bottom side too, so he is completely on an island. And also Caps is in Fog of War, and he's hovering up towards the top side himself, so has to put down a lot of respect. Yike is on vision, so I guess they know he's not there.
He did also ping out the ward, just in case you guys are wondering why he walked straight past it. Just wants to get his camp cycled as quickly as possible. The more time you can have with those camps coming back off cooldown makes it so much easier for Brand, because you farm your camps so quickly, much faster than a Sejuani as the game goes on. Canna trading with Broken Blade again, just trying to keep that wave around.
Yike will continue to be spotted on that vision that you were talking about, Jamada. Cleverly placed wards, but vision going to do the exact same thing for G2. Closer is looking for these opportunities, trying his best to work with Vladi. It's this combo that gives you so much potential agency. As Gregory said, Closer might be into... Oh, someone was spotted there.
Spots Caps. Yike, I think, was able to avoid some of the vision, but as soon as you see Caps coming across, and G2's bot lane had actually gained prio in the bottom side, meaning they can just walk up. Karmine Corp wisely back away from it, willing to accept small losses in the hopes that later on in the game they can find some of these big gains.
I guess what feels rough for KC though is they're not really getting anything anywhere else. Like this is just a flat-out net win for G2 with no real loss anywhere else on the map.
Yeah, I mean, so far it's a great example of how to play with winning lanes. While the advantage doesn't look too egregious, they've only gotten a single kill, and it's a 2k gold.
Yeah, at 9 minutes.
Yeah, so it's... I mean, the hope for KC is, of course, that if they can hold this 2k gold deficit, that's completely fine, right? You're perfectly fine managing that. You're kind of waiting for, like, as Joanna said earlier, 1 or 2 items is perfectly fine, and then you can start looking for these fights. And you also have great pick potential, right? Sejuani ultimate, really good. Gragas is great at splitting up his opposition. He holds the wave. Broken Blade ends up getting tower aggro, and he even tried to knock Broken Blade back underneath the tower. Sejuani ult over the wall.
Goes in, lands on Caps, follows up with the base seal. Caps has to flash away, jumps the wall, Ignite ticks though. And Canna takes the kill in the end.
We've seen the setup the entire time, right? Throughout this early game, Closer's been hovering over that Raptor wall so much, and eventually Caps does get punished for it. Very hard to react that quickly, and even with the flash, even with the rocket jump, still gets himself picked off.
Yeah, nice play from KC. These are the type of opportunities that we were talking about, and I love the setup from Closer. Leverages the Fog of War well. That's the one area that Caps did not have vision of. And, I mean, what else is there to break down? Nice connect. Chain CC is good. Caps very nearly gets out. Flash, knockback, jump, but a single auto attack still connects and ends up finishing him off.
I think it's the one time they've not had vision on the Raptor Cap, to be fair.
They placed it a little bit more superficially just at the entrance. Didn't spot Closer across the wall. Now with Grubs spawning, Caps has no flash, and Karmine Corp will be able to get 3 of their own, move their bot lane up here. G2 kept their bot lane, you know, in bot lane, as one is wont to do. They are managing to shepherd Canna away from the wave, so he's going to lose some XP, unless he can get past the bulwark that is Mikyx. And at the moment, Mikyx seems to be doing a good enough job at keeping the Gragas at bay.
Yeah, G2 are just coming down here as well with Yike. Make sure that is a true cross map. try and get Hans Summer as much gold as they possibly can. KC happy to probably deny away these 3 grubs, but this will be a lot of gold, which is going over to Hans, and we'll see how he's able to utilize it in the next couple of minutes or so.
Dragon in about 45 seconds. And it's G2 that, of course, with this control of the bot side, Canna should feel more confident walking up to the lane, knowing that Targamas is behind him.
Also pings on Vladi as he started to move into Fog of War for mid, as he can come down and collapse. As you say, Vedi, I think 30 seconds, the Hextech Drake, probably the next point of contest between these two teams.
The problem is G2 have just reset, but Closer's pathing up towards top, so neither team really in a great position right now to contest for it.
I'll say having about a minute's leeway before you decide to play around one of these neutral objectives can be okay in certain situations, Vedi.
Well, I'm very strict, okay? 30 seconds before is when you should be setting up for the objective minute.
Sure.
Mainly because you have to think about the time lag between the grubs dying and the dragon spawning.
Oh, Fate Seal once again onto Cap, still has no flash. The Glacial Prison will be exactly that, sent back to jail as Caps spends 30 seconds in the fountain, and now Karmine Corp have open season on their second Drake of the game. We said they wanted to keep this gold within 2K. Well, they've managed to shrink that gold deficit a little bit and get their second drag of the game while keeping G2 away from 6 grubs.
Yeah, this is really big because you would have thought G2, I mean, this early game, the map should be their playground, right? They realistically should have got almost every single objective, but this pick here is going to allow KC not only to have themselves on 2 dragons, but it just means for G2, they have none. They're 4 away from Assault. And realistically for them, they would have loved to have had that just to try and snowball this game before KC can get to a point where they're looking to actually team fight.
I mean, all the advantage as well of KC being able to secure 2 dragons now means they can just buy more time if they need it, right? They have a lot of luxury in this game, and a lot of the credit just needs to go to Closer. We talked about how if anyone was going to find plays, it was going to be him, whether that be trying to force ganks or punishing the mistakes of G2, and he's just been finding angles onto the aggression of Caps. Caps, who's trying to leverage his lead in mid. Closer has been navigating his way around the vision pockets and has been connecting those ultimates onto Caps and setting things up for his mid laner. There's barely a goal difference between them, and you got to remember, Caps has 3 plates. So huge credit to KC. This mid jungle definitely paying off, but now G2 have committed 4 members mid to secure this town.
Yeah, they're going to get it as well. 3 grubs will do the work. Explosive charge, finish it off. 13-minute mid-tier 1. Herald's still not even on the map yet, so that's going to be a big advantage for G2. We spoke about they want those first rotations to side lanes later on in the game. That mid-tier 1 down, it should be a lot easier once we get to that point.
It also just makes getting enemy jungle vision that much easier. It's that much harder to punish Caps than compared to before. It was a smart play from G2 to commit to that objective. And a lot of it thanks to the aggression that has come through from Caps in the 1v1 matchup.
Makes it a lot easier for Yike to get in and steal away camps as well. You can see he's got about a 30 CS lead on the brand over Closer now. The rest of the map relatively even, apart from top, where Broken Blade has really snowballed that first kill and the denial of a lot of CS to Canna under the tower to about a 40 CS lead as well. I think Broken Blade, the standout performer for G2, not only this split, but I'd even, you know, say this year. I think Broken Blade's improvement is really been very evident in this team.
100%. I think that the story of Broken Blade has definitely been a fascinating one, especially when people really didn't trust him internationally, but I think that at MSI, people really changed their tune. And he's going to be a big factor in these fights, especially against dive compositions. Renekton, big shields, he can offer a lot of value. KC have set their sights on this bot tower now. Broken Blade realizes he's on the weak side. He's going to be forced off this. And credit to Closer, he's been playing around Vladi very well this entire game. And even though he finds himself at a small deficit, this Yone is going to become a menace in the side lane later on and is a core part of the dive comp that KC has.
Knows where his bread is going to be buttered for the next 5 or 10 minutes before Upset comes online with this Kai'Sa. Cross map was happening whilst we were talking about that for G2, but now Broken Blade is in trouble.
That's going to happen. Targamas tanking up the tower. Broken Blade will fall. Targamas survives with a sliver. And Caps' TP was stopped with an explosive cask in the top lane. He wasn't able to join Broken Blade down in this bottom side.
Yeah, I was worried that KC would just be massively behind in tempo. The fact that you weren't able to get the tower, the fact that Caps has already taken that top one, you're just going to be behind the next play, which should be Herald. But while they won't be able to secure, the fact that they actually just committed to the dive on Broken Blade, secured the kill, and then got the tower, like that was huge for Vladi. And again, like that goal difference between the two mid laners, really non-existent.
Yeah, continues to bounce back and forth more or less just between net zero. Vladi's on his way to his second Diam, already has the Blade of the Ruined King, so very, very, very powerful at this point in the game.
So have Karmine Corp done what they wanted to do after falling behind? Because a few moments ago, 5 minutes ago, we were saying if they can keep the gold lead at only about 2k, it's actually paying off for them. Here, they managed to stop G2 from getting 6 grubs, get 2 Drakes, and keep that gold deficit at only about 2.5k.
I think absolutely, especially when you consider the fact that they've got 2 dragons. So, like Vedi mentioned earlier, if they don't feel like they can fight this next dragon, just give it up. Go cross-map the top side, get some more gold.
It's true.
Everything feels just about okay for KC.
I mean,
they want to fight though, they can.
There's still the hurdle. Ooh, Yike in some serious
Yike
trouble.
has the flash, has to use it. Magnet Storm is coming in by Targamas. And now that brand much less mobile than he was a moment ago.
We're seeing KC play around their side lanes a lot as we enter this mid game.
Yep.
Again, it's like that maintaining of the game plan, continue to play around Vladi, get him to a point where he's this unstoppable side lane threat. While I do think KC have dive options, they have pick potential, you got to remember that the team fighting strength of G2 isn't weak by any means, right? So there's still a hurdle to climb over, and just maintaining the goal difference is the first step. Of course, the actual execution of the fight is going to be the biggest step.
Yeah. I will say, though, if you're a Karmine Corp fan, you've watched this team not make playoffs twice, to then be played up against G2 and have got over the first hurdle. 100%. I'm taking that,
yeah,
right? Like,
100%.
if you could, it's a vast improvement from what we saw from them in Winter and Spring.
Ultimately, the thing that my biggest takeaway is they've come in with a clear game plan. They had a very sound draft strategy with the Yone and the Sejuani, and they've made it work, right? They've stuck to the game plan, they've been able to execute upon it. But now becomes the important part. Can they pull off a fight?
TP behind. Canna's all the way back in the jungle here, now moving past the red buff. G2 have started up the dragon. It's stolen away by Closer. They're one away from Soul Point. Bait Seal going in as well, and G2 are falling by their numbers. Mikyx has to flash away. Cap's going to be able to kill off Targamas. Will he escape? He jumps across the wall. Summer is riding Shelly out, but Mikyx is left alone, stuck with the bill, as Karmine Corp pull off the heist, get 2 kills, and get the hell out of there.
All right, Karmine Corp, 3rd dragon, everything they could have asked for, and the flank from Canna as well was just perfect. It was pretty deep at first, but I feel like KC are just able to bide their time, slowly whittle down the front line, and then Targamas eventually finds mark. Vladi finds his marks. And the follow-up from Canna is just beautiful. 2 crucial things.
Numbers advantage initially there for KC means that they should feel confident to go for that fight, but also just the execution of the dive. You saw it perfectly, the wombo combo that they have available. Targamas with a great engage, the immediate follow-up from Vladi. Yeah, I like the hand gesture that Closer made. Perfection was what I was reading there, because it really was. Great execution on the fight. And that was the second hurdle, Medic. First one was getting through the early game. The second one was being able to execute upon the team fight. And so far, KC is living up to the expectations they've drafted.
And even more critically, before they've even really hit their second item spikes, which is where I feel like Karmine Corp's composition does come online, so it's a real big win for Karmine Corp, more than you may even think.
Well, let's see how many fair weather fans there are in the audience, because at the start of the game we said who's going to win? Is it G2 or Karmine Corp? It was 80-20 in favor of G2. Now you guys can start voting again, type KC or G2, depending on who you think is going to win. And we'll see how many of those G2 votes may have switched over to a little KC over the last 19 minutes or so.
Gotta remember, of course, KC are the massive underdogs in this series, but G2 hold on to the gold lead for now, and this brand is still very strong. Caps, though.
Vladi, Soul Unbound has to flash. Mikyx looking for the Solar Flare, and Caps just jumps in. I've been told there were so many votes coming in, actually, that our software crashed for a second, so we'll get the votes back in for the next game. Apologies for that. But perhaps now that you see G2 pick up a kill in the side lane, the votes would have switched back anyway.
But, I mean, the big difference here, Caps, he was very close to getting caught on a side lane, but he had the support of his jungle and support this time round. Something that KC's done very well this game is offer that assistance for Vladi, and this time round, Caps was able to get that assistance himself. Nice punish from the side of G2, and just like that, they turned the gold lead back in their favor.
So although the graphic we used to show it was the one that crashed, I do still have the numbers, and I'm going to say them only because of how nice they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Karmine Corp, 31% of the vote.
Oh.
You can work out the rest.
Was that before or after?
That was before that. It was before that, but still.
Nice, very
Okay,
nice.
now it's 74 G2, but that doesn't sound as good as, 31% Karmine Corp. Still, not the 80-20 we saw at the start of the game. We'll see if G2 can continue to find these picks in the side lane, or if Karmine Corp can slow the game down once again, because Upset is at 2 items. Vladi's on his way towards his second. Closer has 2, not as impactful, but still powerful if you can be that front line alongside Canna, who has the Thornmail and the Fimble Winter completed.
There is this soft timer for G2 with the Infernal Soul in a little over 90 seconds time, though.
How soft is that timer? I feel that's quite a hard, like, if you lose Infernal Soul, I feel like it's pretty...
Objectively.
I mean, for me, I have so much faith in the damage dealers of G2 that I feel like even through an Infernal Soul, they might just about be able to get away from it.
Okay.
That said, so far, the one example of a team fight that we've seen from Karmine Corp has been near perfect.
I mean, all we can say is that the Infernal Soul will create a point of hostility, right? Both sides will want that objective. And we're gearing up for a battle of the ages.
That's all we can say. A point of hostility.
Yeah, I'm expanding my vocabulary, Medic.
I think both these teams
will
conquer the gods.
The word that we were playing with yesterday was dismissive.
Dismissive.
Yes, dismissive. It's like the forward tense to dismiss something in the future. So, like, for example, G2 would not dismissive the upcoming dragon for its value in this game is great.
Sure. Are you trying to be an Elden Ring?
I wish I could be an Elden Ring narrator. But yes, important dragon. 35 seconds.
Still
we're getting closer to that time. We see items being completed. There are the 2 item spikes you're talking about, Jamada. It's coming through from across the board. Slight gold advantage. I say slight. 1.7k gold lead. You can see that being in the difference in itemization between the junglers. But here we are. It's KC with control around the objective for now. The bot wave pushed ever so slightly in their favor. You've got to contest that mid wave, though, and it's G2 that's first towards it. Upset ready to catch the wave, but this means that G2 can guarantee numbers advantage and walk their way into the river.
And that's exactly what they're going to do. There's no weird flank angle from Canna this time either. It's all full frontal from KC. So G2 have a little bit less to worry about in that regard. They know where everyone is, but they need to keep track on Targamas. He's slipping off to the side.
Look at Closer. His ultimate's going to be crucial to kick off this fight.
Upset's poke as well can be pretty impactful. If you can land those Void Seekers, there's no Warmogs yet on G2, so they're not going to be able to heal up through that poke.
Here we go.
The Drake has been started, down to 10k. Canna on the front line, G2 as a 5 pushing forward. No vision in that bush for Vladi. Clears out 1 ward, 8,000 now on the Drake. Where's Targa? Spotted on the control ward. He tries to sneak in the side. Vladi down towards the bottom side of the fight. Targamas has walked his way all the way across here. And Canna goes in first. And someone and Yike able to get away. The Solar Flare is gorgeous! A Solar Flare around an Infernal Drake. What serendipity for G2!
A massive team fight for G2. The idea was so good from KC. The initiation from Closer, the angle that he found. But they couldn't quite lock down Caps and Hansama. That resulted in them grouping up for a huge solar flare to come out from Mikyx, and then the ultimate from Yike just did so much damage. That's going to be a 1-team fight. The Soul will be denied, the Baron will be secured, a tower as well. So close, yet so far for KC.
If we felt like KC had a foothold in this game, I think it's just crumbled. And like you said, it's about that initial look-in from KC. But then it's just this solar flare. Everyone's clumped up on top of each other, and then Yike hands over the wall. Oh, it's just disgusting. You can't answer that much AoE in such a short period of time, and then the rundown is just easy.
I'm going to double check on my PC because I'm convinced that it was the spell shield from Yike that actually...
Banshees on Yike meant that he could flash the wall in time. Gets him out of there, I believe. And now the gold lead looms towards that 7,000 mark. KC held on for dear life in this game, and for a few moments it looked like they were going to get back into it. Caps now flanking Vladi. And Vladi does have flash, fate sealed, misses, flashes the wall. Caps jumps forward once again. Closer coming in. Glacial Prism. Is it enough to kill off Caps? Vladi dashes back and Caps will fall. Karmine Corp reacting on the side lane well, but Canna did invest his TP, and that means Karmine Corp are undermanned in the top side.
I mean, it's a good kill from the side of KC, but as you rightly said, objective lost on the top side of the map. I guess you could make the argument that they're not going to be able to get much more off the back of it. But Caps, I feel like you kind of have to get used to the fact that Vladi seems to always have Closer right behind him every single time a play happens. Closer is right there to support his mid laner. Nice to see that synergy developing. Unfortunately for KC, it's not going to be enough as the gold lead just continues to to excel in their favor. You're kind of looking in terms of where could there be a shining opportunity for KC. Upset keeping even with Summer in terms of itemization, but this brand is in such a strong spot. This Renekton, if he ever gets on top of the carries, like he's nearly got a 2-level lead over Canna, is such a monstrous front line to have to get through. KC is going to need a miracle team fight to swing this game around.
They're going to need something like that third dragon fight again. And it's going to have to be onto Hans and Caps. And once Yike has flash in a few minutes' time as well, I mean, he's got that Banshees. It effectively helped him make that last play.
Karmine Corp don't have any range to defend this tower right now. You can see how far back Vladi's having to stand. Upset only just finishing his recall right now, so the tier 3 in the bot lane gone. G2 with the push on the Baron, about 2,000 gold off the power play. Still have 40 seconds on it. Caps has a mid-wave, but no Baron buff on him remaining because, of course, he died in the bottom lane a little bit earlier on, but Tristana doesn't really need Baron to help her take these turrets. G2 continue to do this 1-4 split. Caps hovering over towards the top side. Vladi there to try and answer. Targamas looking for the flank as well, and Caps jumps away from Vladi. It's a blast cone. Gets himself to safety, and that will be the push called off for G2. They get a turret in the bot lane and half of one in mid.
They hold off well.
Baron about to wear off, and KC, at the very least, keep their inhibitors alive. G2 deciding that, you know what, overstaying would not be in our best interest. Just gonna go back and reset. There's definitely a world where KC can find a good fight, maybe even find a pick. They've got the itemization on Upset to be able to deal the damage that they need. It's just about whether or not they can actually execute, right? They had a really promising first fight thanks to a nice flank from Canna. This good collapse with numbers advantage onto G2. And it feels like G2 have kind of learned from that almost immediately and said, okay, make sure all of our vision behind us is completely sweeped out. Don't give them any opportunity to find a flank with the Gragas. And also, they're kind of aware of the engage and the dive. And you've got to remember that it's very full committal from KC. So if they don't get that initial target, then you're kind of very deep and there's very little that you can do about it.
Yeah, I think if I'm KC right now, give up this next dragon, go into the top side, try and just make it as dark as possible, and see if you just catch one member of G2 out. Just buy yourself a bit more time.
To contest the next Baron, maybe.
Yeah, and just help you out there.
I think the other thing for Karmine Corp is G2 have now, around fights, started to play a little bit more clumped, which might sound bad into a team that has like good engage, but for Karmine Corp, if they all jump onto a clump of G2, like there are summoners available for G2, and there's a pyroclasm. So if everyone's in an area, that brand passive and that brand ultimate is just going to bounce around you, and he's at 3 items. So Karmine Corp almost need to find a split fight or an explosive cast to split the fight up and then find a couple of picks off that, rather than just going all in and pressing their R's on the same target, or just try and win out in a side lane. Vladi's going to jump back, Caps jumping forward, flashes away from the Q3 and takes the kill. Akana's here to try and stop the party, and Caps is dodging everything! In the end, it's the Thorn Mail that kills him. Stop hitting yourself, Caps! Stop hitting yourself!
Yeah, it's crazy to think that the only one that actually could kill Caps in that moment was Caps himself. Wow, what an outplay from the superstar mid laner. He's not had the greatest game overall, but he gets a bit of vengeance this time round. He says, what are you going to do without your jungler behind you? Well played from him. Dragon secured by G2. Baron now in 50 seconds time. Both mid laners will be alive for the objective, and it's going to be KC's last opportunity to turn this game around.
As cathartic as I'm sure that was for Caps, just to play, you know, glass half full for KC for a second, he now doesn't have flash.
Yep.
You know?
It's true.
We've kind of set up KC as having almost kind of a shotgun comp in many ways.
My only counter argument to that is
Rocket
I've
jump?
seen Caps CC jump literally every ability in the game.
But he hasn't been doing it that much this game. He's been hit by a lot of glacial prisons.
That's true.
It was the Vi, the cease and desist, the ultimate that he was constantly buffering out of.
I remember that.
It was a fun game to watch.
The craziest one was the MSI one.
Yes. Yeah. Now Karmine Corp on the back foot, as they have been for quite a lot of this game. The gold lead still only 7,000 in G2's favor. 3 items complete on Upset alongside a Seeker's Arm Guide. 3 items on Summer as well. Mid laners, well, Caps has 3, but Glacial Prism going in. Only Mikyx stunned up. Not going to do too much.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that they chose to throw that so early. Especially Mikyx has the Warmogs. He's going to mitigate that very small amount of damage that he received. I guess you could argue Sejuani cooldown not the longest, but Baron is up, and he's not going to have it available.
Yeah, still a window, and I mean, realistically, G2 want to try and set themselves up to do this ASAP with the vision control they've got. They really want to suck KC in to a fight, or maybe wait for Caps, but the problem is, Caps might get 2v1.
Broken Blade stuns Targamas, who crashes down. Chain of Corruption's gone down as well, and Targamas is very slow now. Tries to flash out of vision, and Summer with the fast-out alteration will spot him out. And G2 pick up the kill. Caps backed away in the bot lane as Canna and Vladi were looking for him. And now G2 with a man advantage can just turn their eyes back towards the Baron.
Yeah, I mean, getting rid of one of the primary engages of KC means that it's now that much harder for KC to really contest this objective. As long as Closer is alive, there's always going to be a chance. Let's see if they can pull it off.
He stole third Drake for them. Can he steal the Baron? No vision in the pit right now. Canna goes forward, places that control ward.
And G2 respect it.
Yeah, and G2 just back away. They don't need to fight this. Caps is still pushing in bot lane. Someone has to match him.
It's their only way back into the game. A 50-50, and I think G2 know that, and they're just playing with KC's hearts here.
Taking a lot of damage, though.
Targa is back up.
Okay, and Caps, though, he's going to use this window to secure another tower. Should be able to get it with the bomb, and that they will. Now back on the Baron. TP still available for Caps, but...
Look at how quickly that melts, and they don't have vision right now. Targamas needs to get across. They put in a barrel. Targamas has a control ward. Will it be too late? Gets there in time. 4,000 on it. G2 start to back away. Broken Blade dashing in. Glacial Prison hits him, but he's really tanky right now. And on the front line, Closer is deleted. Mikyx looks for the Sola play, hits Vladi, who unbinds his soul, but perhaps shortly will have to unbind his monitor as he did at the start of the game. Not sent back to the fountain yet. Now he's down. G2 get another. Caps dashes in. Yike flashing forward as well as Canna is running to try and find some escape, but there's just none from G2. Hans is pushing mid. Upset and Canna on the wrong side of the map. Upset! He goes for Caps! He gets him! Upset finds a small window of light, perhaps for Karmine Corp. Broken Blade there, though, still, as Canna tries to beat him off. Hans Summer coming across from the side to collapse. Canna will fall. G2 win out the fight, not as cleanly as they'd like. Only Upset left standing.
I mean, it's not the worst fight for KC. Sure, they did ultimately lose it, but because the fight dragged on for so long, it's not going to convert into a Baron. It means that there's an opportunity maybe for another Dragon contest. The initiation starts with Broken Blade going in. Mikyx's in an awkward spot, so he has to flash, commit onto the front line. Upset's hesitant to go back in because the Brand ultimate actually connects onto him. Now he feels like he can't really hit. He's zoned away from the fight now, and it turns into kind of a 5 versus 3. Then he re-engages, does good damage onto Mikyx, but at this point he realizes the damage is too low. The damage is already done, rather, and G2 then start to chase them down. But, oh, actually, Caps knocks him out of the Pillar of Flame, I think, with the ulti.
He did.
And then, of course, Upset able to find this last pick.
Yeah, there wasn't really a massively open window for Upset for a lot of that fight, and I think credit to G2 for kind of keeping it closed, and just overall the discipline throughout that Baron dance, as Canna slowly gets run down in the replay. But in the picture-in-picture, G2 getting a third dragon, that's 3 infernals, and KC, you're on the Baron!
Start of the Baron. Hans Summer has to work his way through mid lane to get here. He's already down to 2,000. Solar play hits on the back line. Will Closer get the smite? He will! But can Karmine Corp get out of the fight? Canna's already found 1 is 2. Already for KC. Closer's ticking and won't survive. Leandres burns him down, but Karmine Corp still have 4. Upset looking for more! Snipes out Broken Blade. Caps will find 1 up towards the top side. It's Vladi who falls. Canna and Upset. Are you going to shepherd Targamas out? You can't. Only 2 Barons remain, but Karmine Corp still clinging on in this game. The TP behind as Caps looks for the inhibitor. Recalls have come out from Canna and Upset. Upset will get back. Canna won't. Caps just going to go for the base. Might be double in hit. Might be the base. No. Only Upset stands in his way.
Oh, Caps! He's gone!
Caps finds the kill onto Upset!
And then tanks the tower for a year and is going to die!
Oh, he gets it down! The thought!
Bomber! If that's not Caps, I've never seen a more Caps play in my life.
Well, Baron's off the map, and G2 can't get it anymore.
And Canna still has Baron buff.
They can siege Karmine Corp. They can maybe find a window, but it's just about a 50-50 Yike. He's definitely close enough, he just doesn't win it, and then Canna, great angle from the backside, and G2 are just too split at the end of the day, and Upset protected by his front line. He's able to get enough damage out. Zhonya's does miss the W, but I think it's the buffer of the Q whilst he's in the stasis. Gets himself that kill, and they can't shepherd out Targamas. has to lose his life in the end.
I will say at the end there, it did feel like KC were a bit mixed on what they wanted to do, because initially it seemed like that they wanted to disengage, but then they kind of started to re-engage. Now we look, such great awareness. I can't believe he saw that he had a kill here. That's crazy to me. Was that 1.2k crit?
Yeah.
He then did walk back under tower and take aggro for no reason.
Okay.
So, you know,
I mean,
swings and roundabouts.
That's my EU go.
I mean, that's what FLICKR did after the Z versus Z 1v1 outplay, right? So every good play has mistakes that we just don't highlight.
Sure.
All right.
No?
Ultimately, I just think it was awesome.
Sure.
I thought, because it was more so that like he'd only landed one auto, and then to have the awareness to say, I can actually get a kill here, that's very cool. Anyway, KC, the good news is that they actually got a lot of gold off the back of that. They are definitely in a position to win fights more favorably than they were a few minutes ago. Securing that Baron, even though things didn't go their way, just securing all these extra items gives you more durability, gives you more damage. Upset is level 18. Like, there's a very real possibility of KC making the miracle comeback. It's all about whether or not they can find the right fight, which is obviously the hardest part.
And we're very much at the point in the game where it can just be one fight. That really, for KC, if there's a wave in a good spot, they have teleports up, the game could just end and they could win. So G2 have to play a little bit more respectfully, shall we say, around some of these opportunities that they're looking for.
Upset is potted up now. 5 items alongside those boots. Super minions pushing in the bot lane. It will be Vladi's responsibility to deal with them, and you can see that damage starting to stick on Caps. Another Prey Seeker, or Void Seeker, hits onto Broken Blade. That one goes wide, so a bit of longer cooldown here for Upset. G2 start the recalls. No vision here from Karmine Corp. They won't know that G2 have backed all the way away, but they can make the assumption and start to clear out their own jungle. 1.5 minutes on the Infernal Soul for either team, as we are at 3 apiece right now.
KC, they've staved off G2's assault, and ultimately we are going to... What?
I was trying to think of a cool Elden Ring word you could have used there.
Okay, but Elden Ring don't own those words, just want to clarify.
Yeah, but like, I mean, obviously we're talking like ye olde English, grand, medieval. I mean,
it's more like Shakespearean, I suppose.
Shakespearean is, you know, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? I don't think you can really say that about either of these two.
Wow. Okay.
To be or not to be, much more fitting.
Okay.
To fight or not to fight, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind of G2.
Look at Caps, though. He's just continuing a split push. Vladi doing his best to answer him. You know, one of the things I said initially was that this Yone is going to be really difficult to deal with. And Cap said, bet.
That's Shakespeare as well, isn't it?
Yeah, sounds it.
Karmine Corp, though.
Oh,
Mikyx flashed on with a Shield of Daybreak. Canna going forward once again. Broken Blade looking for the flank. Upset trying to put the damage down. Madness Storm in. Summer has to flash away, but Canna's there for the chase. And Canna gets the shutdown. Sola flame on the backline. Targamas is low. Upset is 2. And now Caps joins the party. Face sealed onto him, but he still has a GA to live to fight another day. It will be popped. Canna in the middle of 3 will fall. Pings going down, Broken Blade has TP, Super Minions pushing into the base, but instead G2 set their eyes on the Infernal Soul.
Infernal Soul and the teleport! They're going for it!
Wait, Vladi's here, Targamas is here, Broken Blade will immediately be met by a horse crashing down. Dashes away with the slice and dice, Caps coming to join. Can help out his croc friend. In the end, I don't think G2 can win the game here. 30 seconds of upset, 25 on closer.
They could. Vladi doesn't have ultimate. I mean, they don't really have wave clear. They can't get rid of the wave.
It's true. Targamas goes forward, looking for the Shadowing Strike. Can't find it. Hit respawns. They can't. They can't take it yet. Targamas will fall, though. The GA popped onto Vladi. Can he escape for long enough? The answer's no. A ruthless stun from the Ruthless Predator. Broken Blade. 7 seconds on Upset. No minion wave for G2, though.
Inhibs, I guess, is going to have to be the price for now. Upset's up. Canna's up in 5. Can they get all 3? They're looking for the end.
Upset goes in. Upset dashes forward. Caps jumps away. Yike pops the stopwatch, but will he go pop immediately after? In fact, he still has the flash. Canna now joining the party. Had a sip in the fountain and now is looking to unleash his drunken rage.
Is the game really not over yet?
I guess not. Well, Caps is going to take triple inhibs.
Oh, Yike died!
Getting everything they can. Yike died.
That's 60-second death timer.
But you got no inhibs ready.
The Baron is up. No jungler. I don't know if Closer can get in range. He's making a run for it.
Caps is going to try and act as a bodyguard. Closer going in. No flash for him. Buster shot available for Caps, but no vision means that G2 are able to secure the Baron before Closer can get a sniff in.
Whew. So, 3 inhibitors down, but the Nexus still stands for KC. We go all the way back to this initial fight.
This feels like ages ago. I mean, Mikyx scratching my head really, splashing onto Canna, but then it's just about this engage from Targamas and the follow-up from Upset. And then again, Canna. It's just the bop, 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 bop. Straight one after another. And then at this point, KC are just eating so much AoE damage. Eventually, Vladi does get on 2 Caps, blow his GA, but the rest of KC kind of just been minced in this meat grinder.
Yeah, I mean, it was... Once they get the initial engage...
It's a good kill.
Wait.
It's a good kill.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Canna really has been bombering it this game.
Yes.
Pretty impressive performance by him.
But yes, when they group up like that, we've seen it a few times now, the brand just gets so much value. I wonder if we can actually see the breakdown of the damage dealt that we get on a lower third.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'd love to actually see how much damage this brand has actually done this game. Obviously, Caps is probably going to be very high up there. Upset as well. Zephyr now completed for him. He is a very strong Kai'Sa. And credit to KC, they're doing a great job of just defending, making this game as difficult as possible. But now Baron, Infernal Soul. Yeah, it's still Caps.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know why I'm surprised.
I don't know, but Upset, credit to him. He's not that far behind him.
Double supers in all the lanes now, though. Karmine Corp have to try and defend. Caps, no flash. On the other side, no flashes anywhere.
They've got to pull the trigger. Sooner or later, KC. Baron doubled up minions, doubled up super minions. They're not going to be able to hold on forever. Still a little while longer on this Baron buff too, but G2, they're not really looking to get super aggressive either. It looks like they're being very patient, trying to whittle down instead.
And Cap's going to bring in the supers from the top side. Canna has the explosive cast, gets flash about to come back off cooldown. Cap's pushing forward. Closer goes in. Glacial Prison. Oh! That was a Nat's whisker away from hitting the back of Caps. The Nexus tower down to almost fate sealed in. Caps gets the buster shot back, and Upset jumps in! And Upset kills off Caps, but the inhibitor, the Nexus tower is almost fallen. Magnustorm forward, Solar Flare. The Nexus tower goes down, but will G2 go down alongside it? Broken Blade does so much work! As he kills off Upset, now it's Mikyx like a Broken Blade trying to close out the game. Can Karmine Corp hold on? Is the blue wall high enough? Or have G2 bought a battering ram to just smash it to the ground? G2 on the Nexus, Broken Blade on the Nexus as G2 take game 1.
A crazy end to a 43-minute game. G2 might have won, but KC made them work for it. I mean, that final fight, the execution was incredible. The fact that Upset found an angle, really impressive stuff. We're going to take a breather after that nail biter as we head to break. We'll see you in a bit for game 2.
Hey Laure.
Yeah?
I need a bit of help with styling since I'm new here, and I was wondering if I could show you a couple of outfits.
Yeah, sure.
Amazing, thank you so much. I'll be right back. I'm a porro snack. Get it?
I don't know, man. No, not really.
I don't know, Laure. It's hopeless.
No, it's gonna be fine. Here, let's have a break.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
Back to the drawing board then, I guess.
Hey, shouldn't you be on stage right now?
Hey, you got a pick. Tom Kent? What? I was not expecting this.
And a crazy off-meta pick that secured you the win. How did you come up with it?
I just listened to my gut.